Case made a bit of a sensation at the time.
Oh, it was horrible.
The Stannings were sentenced to terms of imprisonment. Stannings died in prison. Mrs. Stanning served her sentence and was duly released. Yesterday, as I say, she was found strangled at 24 Culver Street.
But who did it?
I'm coming to that, madam. A notebook was picked up near the scene of the crime. On it was written 2 addresses. One was 24 Culver Street. The other was Casewell Manor.
What?
That's right. That's why Superintendent Hogbin, on receiving this information from Scotland Yard, thought it imperative for me to come down to see if you knew if there was any connection between this house or anyone in this house and the Longridge Farm case.
There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. It must be a coincidence.
Superintendent Hogbin doesn't think it's a coincidence, sir. He didn't come here yourself if it were in any way possible, but under the weather conditions and as I can ski, he sent me with instructions to get full particulars on everyone in the house, to report back to him by phone, and to take whatever measures necessary I thought fit to ensure the safety of the household.
Safety? What danger does he think we're in? Good Lord, he's not suggesting that somebody's going to be killed here.
I don't want to frighten any of the ladies, but frankly, yes, that's the idea.
Why?
That's what I'm here to find out.
But the whole thing's crazy.
Yes, sir. It's because it's crazy that it's dangerous.
Nonsense! I must say it seems a bit far-fetched.
I think it's wonderful.
Is there something that you haven't told us, Sergeant?
Yes, Mrs. Ralston. On the notebook below the 2 addresses was written 3 blind mice, and on a dead woman's body was a paper with "This is the first" written on it, and below that a drawing of 3 mice and a bar of music. The music was to the tune of the nursery rhyme, 3 blind mice. You know how it goes, 3 blind mice.
3 blind mice, see how they run. They all ran after the farmer's wife. But it's horrible.
There were 3 children and one died.
Yes, the youngest, a boy of 11. The girl was adopted by someone, and we haven't been able to trace her present whereabouts. The elder boy, who would now be about 22, deserted from the army and hasn't been heard of since. According to the army psychologist, he was definitely schizophrenic. A bit queer in the head, that is to say.
And they think that it was him that did this.
Yes.
And that he's some sort of homicidal maniac, and that he's gonna kill all of us. But why?
That's what I've got to find out from you. As the superintendent sees it, there must be some connection. Now, you yourself state, sir, that you've never had any connection with the Longridge Farm case?
No.
And the same goes for you, madam.
No connection.
What about your servants?
We don't have any servants. Now, that reminds me, if you'll excuse me for just 1 minute, I need to go to the kitchen. I'll be there if you need me.
That's quite all right, Mrs. Ralston. Now, can I have all your names, please?
This is quite ridiculous. We are merely staying in a kind of hotel. We only arrived yesterday. We have nothing to do with this place.
But you plan to come here in advance. You booked your rooms here ahead.
Yes, all except Mr.
Petrovicini, my car overturned in a snowdrift.
I see. What I'm getting at is that anyone who's been following you might know very well that you are coming here. Now, there's just one thing I want to know, and I want to know it quick. Which one of you is it that has some connection to the business at Longridge Farm? You're not being very sensible, you know. One of you is in danger, deadly danger, and I've got to know which one that is. All right, I'll ask you one by one. You, sir, since you seem to arrive here more or less by chance, Mr.
Petrovicini, my car overturned in a snowdrift, but, sir, I know nothing of what you speak of. I am a native, excuse me, I am not of this country. I know nothing of these local affairs of bygone years.
And you, Miss?
Boyle. I don't see. Really, I consider it an impertinence why I should have anything to do with this distressing business.
Miss?
Casewell, Leslie Casewell. And I've never heard of Longridge Farm and I know nothing about it.
Mr.
Metcalf, Major. I was serving in Edinburgh at the time. No personal knowledge.
And you, sir?
Christopher Wren. I was a mere child at the time. I don't remember even hearing about it.
And that's all you have to say? Any of you? Well, if one of you gets murdered, you'll have yourself to blame. Now, Mr. Ralston, can I have a look around the house?
Yes, Sergeant.
Quite odd.
He's very intense, isn't he? I do admire the police, so stern, hard-boiled.
this nasty business at the farm.
What about it?
If I remember correctly, you were on the seat of judges. That we're going to choose whether or not to send these kids to the farm or let them stay.
Major Metcalf, I can hardly be held responsible. We have reports from welfare workers. The farm people seemed very nice and were most anxious to have the children. It was a very satisfactory situation. Eggs, fresh milk, and a healthy outdoors life.
What you gave them were kicks, blows, starvation, and a thoroughly vicious couple.
How was I to know? They were very civilly spoken.
Yes, I was right. It was you.
One tries to do a public duty and all one gets is abuse.
If you'll excuse me, this is all very entertaining, but I'm just enjoying myself greatly.
I never did like that man.
Where did he come from last night? I don't know. Seems like a bit of a spiff to me. Paints up his face, too. Rouge and powder. Disgusting. He seems quite old, too.
And yet he skips about as though he were quite young.
You'll be wanting more wood, Mrs. Ralston. I'll go get some.
It's almost dark, and it's only 4 in the afternoon.
Where did I put my pen?
What a horrid little tune that is.
Don't you like it? Reminds you of a childhood. An unhappy childhood.
I was very happy as a child.
You were lucky.
Weren't you happy?
No.
I'm sorry.
That's all in the past now. One tends to get over things.
I suppose.
Or doesn't one? Hard to say.
They say that what happens when you're a child matters more than anything else.
They say who says?
Psychologists.
Oh, humbug. What nonsense to me. I have no use for psychologists and psychiatrists.
I've never really had much to do with them.
And good for you, you haven't. It's all a lot of rubbish. Life's what you make it. Go straight ahead. Don't look back.
One can't always help looking back.
Nonsense. It's a question of willpower.
Perhaps.
I know.
I expect you're right, but sometimes things happen to make you remember.
Don't look back. Turn your back on them.
Is that really the right way, I wonder? Perhaps it's all wrong. Perhaps one really ought to face them.
Depends on what you're talking about.
Sometimes I hardly know what I'm talking about.
Nothing from the past is going to affect me, except in the way I want it to.